to this process, and it's something that has a very specific wording in it that removes money as free speech. Exactly.
So that's common cause up there.
The second piece is something you guys have all been hearing about. It's the way that we're always disenfranchised as voters across the country, depending on any party that you're part of. It is dealing with partisan gerrymandering. We've got 6 cases before the Supreme Court right now, and they're consistently being shot down where both parties are actually getting pushed out.
With Diane McCash. Me and Diane will be up here speaking in just a few minutes. So stay tuned, because we're about to go on next, talking about social justice issues out here at the People's Rally
for every state in the country. So that's our exciting initiatives that we've got going on this session. We had a couple of other bills, including especially funding our
all the people out here.
And that's something that's still really important. We've got a public election fund.
Thanks for being with me.
The state has borrowed.
Holding us down.
They've swept money
Stay
out
tuned,
of
folks.
every single
We're up
year
next.
to
We'll
pay
be
for the cost of our
talking.
Secretary of State running our
Thanks,
election.
Alicia, for being
That
on.
meant that
I've been
every
talking about
candidate that
Daniel,
was
a
going to
lot of
register
care and
to
police
run this
violence
year was only
issues.
going to get around 22 to 24%
So thank you for being on with me.
of the amount of money they were going to get. Can you run a viable campaign that way? The public financing would be dead if they don't replenish that money. Right now it is in the budget, and if you talk to your legislators, you've got to ask them to keep it in that budget and fully fund our Secretary of State. She is the linchpin of our democracy here, and the foundation of all we work on. So thank you very much for having me, and if you have a moment today to talk to your legislator, ask them to support HJM 10 today.
All right, I'm ready. We're already on, so if you'll just...
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Flora Lucero. I am president of Westside Dems. Thank you all for being here today, making a difference in our state. I'm here to introduce Celinda Guerrero. Celinda says her work is to give a voice to the voiceless. She's a grassroots human rights activist, a spokesperson for justice for Jaquez Lewis, a representative for Albuquerque Save the Kids, and Millions for Prisoners New Mexico, working on a variety of issues concerning police violence, inmate abuses, and injustices within the prison industrial complex and the criminal justice system, while addressing underlying issues of generational poverty, access to housing, education, employment, and health care. Celinda is a powerhouse, and we're so grateful to have her in our community. Celinda?
Today with me, I'm so proud to have Diane McCash by my side. Diane is going to share her story, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more.
Hi, my name is Diane McCash, and I'm speaking as a parent. We have a problem with our criminal justice system, with our war on drugs, which is a war on people of color. Back in the day, when I was a teenager, we smoked dope. I bought a nickel bag one time, shared it with the person who I bought it from. I was never arrested, my friends weren't arrested, and we didn't have easy access to some of the drugs that are in our community now. As far as I know, none of us OD'd, none of us died. It's a different story for my son, who will turn 29 next week. He got involved early, smoking pot, other drugs, and he was drawn into the criminal justice system before he was an adult, and then got his first charge as an adult 3 weeks after his 18th birthday. He's turning 29. He spent about the last 7 years, of his adult life, he spent about 7 years incarcerated. This is a kid with mental health issues as well as drug addiction at this point. That time, that critical developmental time between late teenage through mid-20s, when your brain is developing, is really critical. And if we don't have programs for our kids to keep them out of the criminal justice system and to put them into care, which will support them during these critical times, we are creating a whole generation of second-class citizens and felons and people who, like in my generation and even a lot of my son's friends, they've kind of grown out of it, like a lot of us did. But they're not going to have a chance if they're doing that developmental work in jail to grow out of it. So I urge you to support bills that support our kids and our young adults.
Yes.
Thank you.
Woo! We love you, Diane!
Thank you, Diane, for sharing your story. I know it's not easy to talk about these issues. I come from a place where I grew up in a gang environment. I sold dope in the 90s. I was a mom at 16. I was an 8th grade dropout. I was statistically not supposed to be standing before you today. And that's what inspires me to be a voice for all of my friends and family members who aren't able to stand before you because they are behind the walls. They have died from addiction issues. They've been murdered by the police. They've been murdered because of systemic violence in our neighborhoods. And that's why I'm here. I'm here because we don't have a voice. When you become a felon, you become a second-class citizen. That's the equal to being a black person during Jim Crow. You are blocked from housing, from education, from voting, from having a place in this democracy. You don't exist. And we have to change that here. And this year, what I want to see is, I want to see the restoration of voting rights to felons and those that are behind the walls.
Yes!
There are 2.3 million people that are behind the walls today. Female incarceration is up 640% in the last 20 years. They already took our men and now they're taking our women. Our children are literally being orphaned out here in my neighborhoods. There are over 6 million people that are on probation and parole that are under constant surveillance, and those are my people in my neighborhood, and this has to change.
Yes.
We are not the problem, but we can be the solution. And those of us that are closest to these issues have the best answers on how to resolve them. Engage us and let us be part of this democracy. We belong here and we have a voice. Thank you.
Yes, we love you, Celinda!
Thank you, Celinda. That's power right there. We have a pair of speakers coming up. We have Olay in the house. Olay. Chris Buckman is a mother to a smart young boy named Rexley, but she is also an Albuquerque small business owner. And Diana Mays is a mother to a creative girl named Kalindra, but she also has more than 10 years of experience working in early childhood education. And both ladies are parent leaders with Olay's Working Parents Association and the United Parent Leaders Action Network. So please give them a round of applause and welcome.
We have already waited too long to invest in our people. Our families in New Mexico are struggling, and our children are at the bottom of the country in education. Our representatives need to support and pass legislation that benefits families, parents, and children. We want jobs that offer us full-time work, livable wages, and benefits like paid sick leave. We need to ensure that our youngest New Mexicans have a chance to succeed by investing in them through the Land Grant Fund. And we need elected officials who listen to us.
So as an early educator of 13 years, with every position under my belt in an early education center, I know that education starts at birth, which means our children need preventative measures rather than corrective measures.
Yes.
All of New Mexico's children deserve stepping stones to a successful educational system. These stepping stones are affordable and accessible education for all New Mexico's children, not just the ones whose parents can afford it. In reality, New Mexicans need 2 incomes to support a struggling family. And there are resources at our disposal to correct this, like HJR1. This bill will provide access to a high-quality, affordable early education system for all children in New Mexico. It's time that we invest in the playpen rather than investing in the state pen. It's time today to give New Mexico's children a chance. HJR1 is being heard today, so please lobby your representatives and senators to vote yes on HJR1 and allow New Mexico voters to decide what's best for our children.
Good job.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Ole, for the work you do. Next up, we have Eleanor Bravo. Eleanor is the Southwest Director of Food and Water Watch, an international nonprofit. Based in Albuquerque, she leads a national campaign to oppose pipelines and fracking infrastructure. She also works throughout New Mexico to ban fracking and keep factory dairy farms accountable for bad disposal practices. She ran the #1 field office for Barack Obama in 2008 and continues working closely with residents in Sandoval and Bernalillo counties to protect Albuquerque Basin, which provides drinking water for 1 million people. Thank you very much, and please help me welcome Eleanor.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here. Why is an environmental group here on People's Rally Day? Because every time a well pad explodes, every time there is an injection well that causes an earthquake, every time there is a pipeline that cracks and spills, it is poor people, indigenous people, disenfranchised communities, people with no voice who suffer the most. Woo! On Saturday, it was an honor to be here with 200 or 300 of my closest friends where we stood up against PNM. It's not a public company. It's called public service. It's a private company. And they are lining their pockets at the expense of ratepayers. And they were here on Saturday trying to get a $350 million bailout. No, we will not let this happen. The bill was tabled, however, we will follow it and we will not relent. So what Food and Water Watch has been doing in the past 10 years, 2 years ago we banned fracking in the state of New York after a 10-year campaign. Last year, the state of Maryland after a 7-year campaign. This year, look to Florida. We've also banned fracking in Monterey County, California. We are
Chaco Canyon next.
We have to do it here. New Mexico moved from 4th largest producer of natural gas to 3rd largest producer of natural gas. Now, this isn't a claim to fame. We also have serious problems where frack water is being used in our crops, to watering our crops in California. We have a huge campaign against that. But what I really would like to tell you today is that we have now in the House of Representatives introduced by Representative Tulsi Gabbard from Hawaii, the Off Fossil Fuels for a Better Future Act, the OFF Act. It calls for a just transition to renewables by 2035, 100%. And a just transition means that coal workers, oil workers, and people who work in the fossil fuel industry will get trained so that we're just not throwing them to the wolves, that they can then transition to renewables, which is one of the largest producers of jobs in this country. So this is Martha right here. If you have not yet signed our petition to transition to renewables, 100% by 2035, please sign. And if you're an organization, we have an organizational sign-on letter too. We would love your organization. And we are asking all lawmakers and all candidates to sign a pledge that says, I will never vote for legislation that will cause the extraction of fossil fuels. We need to create a bench of lawmakers who realize this is the #1 issue. No water, no life. Thank
you. Good afternoon, everyone. Pardon me. My name is Teva Gabus Levine. I am a co-founder of the New Mexico Progressive Coalition. I also have the great honor of being a strategic advisor and chief ally for New Mexico Dream Team. Now, I know that the speaker that I have the honor of introducing has a lot to say, so I'm going to be extremely brief. So without further ado, I present to you Santa Fe Academy Senior, Jocelyn Estefani Arevalo.
My name is Jocelyn Stephanie Barrera. I am 18 years old and I am undocumented and unafraid. My mom, my siblings, and I came to the U.S. 16 years ago looking for better opportunities in life, but most importantly for an opportunity to live in peace and where we could access opportunities to thrive. Although our journey hasn't been easy, we have made New Mexico our home. The reason for New Mexico is because we knew this state was different. It had the community values we were seeking to feel safe and welcome, but these values have been tested by the puppets of the GOP agenda to push communities of colors into the shadows. Our closest example is Governor Susana Martinez, who for 7 years pushed to deny undocumented families access to a driver's license, only to signal and immigrants. And just a few weeks ago, the White House revealed its immigration proposal, which was nothing more than a mass ransom note. This ransom note is demanding $25 billion to build a wall at the southern border, ending family reunification, and decreasing the number of Border Patrol and ICE agents around the country, all in exchange for safety and well-being of 1.8 million young immigrants. There is no other way to call this than a real-life hostage situation that is unfolding before the American Republic, which Republican extremists and white supremacists are calling politics. But as we have said time and time again, our lives will not be used as a bargaining chip, and to the White House and their attempt at ethnic cleansing, we say no. We must not allow this administration to pit the American republics against each other. We cannot allow people of color to be pitted against each other, and we cannot allow for them to decide the course of our history. So as you are listening today, I challenge you to join the fight for the dignity and justice of immigrants, refugees, and all people of color against xenophone racist administration is attempting to destroy us. Seeing all of you here today reminds me we are not alone in this fight. It gives me the hope and courage that I need to continue forward to ensure we truly uplift and push for a progressive agenda that will make a better country for everyone, not just and not only for those who are filled with hate and want to remain in power through the sacrifice and suffering of others. Seeing all of you here today brings me joy to know in New Mexico we will not allow racism to take the day, because of our history has shown that we are resilient people willing to fight and stand up for what is right. So as you are going home today, call your representatives, your senators, and let them know that you stand with immigrant youth and that they must do the same. Remind them that we should not sacrifice our families, only to keep racist administration happy. And enabling their deportation machines, remind them they must have the courage to put an end to the ongoing attacks, immigrants, refugees, our LGBTQ brothers and sister workers, and people of color. Thank you all so much, and remember, I'm documented and unafraid.
Yay! Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Great job.
Thank you for all your work, too. Next up is Kathleen Chavez. Kathleen is self-employed as a fashion designer and tailor. She is a mother. As someone that is self-employed, Kathleen has a fluctuating income that makes the expansion of Medicaid important for her, maintaining her insurance coverage. She will share with us why the safety net of Medicaid has been vital to her and her family throughout her working career. Please welcome Kathleen.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Kathleen. I am a single mom of a 10-year-old. I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I run a home-based business, and I'm also a Medicaid recipient. Medicaid is so important to me and my family because my income, as she said, does fluctuate. As a small business owner, I'm working towards getting my income to a point where I can pay for my own insurance. That's what every business owner wants to do, expand their business. But in the meantime, I can't have the rug pulled out from underneath me. I need health insurance, my son does, and my son has sensory processing disorder and executive function issues, so he sees an occupational therapist, a speech therapist, sometimes gets other care. And recently, Medicaid has become a complete lifeline for me. I was recently diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease, and I'm currently in the process of trying to get some solid treatment for that. If I didn't have access to doctors, to the neurologist, to the ability to get MRI, spinal tap, I wouldn't know that I have this, and I would probably have just continued suffering at home until my health declined to a point that I couldn't even work anymore. So Medicaid is important for so many reasons, but I'm here to share my story because I want you all to know that there's almost 900,000 people on Medicaid in New Mexico, and a lot of those are children. And when you look around, we're your friends, we're your neighbors, we're your family, we're people you hire to do work, and community needs to come together and realize that everybody needs access to health insurance. Health insurance is not a privilege, it's a right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Next up is Elder Kathy Sanchez. She is with Tewa Women United, and she is here to speak on behalf of the Poor People's Campaign. Please welcome
Go, Kathy!
Sadie Tamu, it gives me great pleasure to be here. We were here earlier on the other side. We had our grand launching of the Poor People's Campaign. We have a New Mexico division, and you're all welcome to help support the causes that we have in New Mexico. But the national campaign, Poor People's Campaign, had a launching in all about 22 states, and it was at the national Washington, D.C. steps as well. And we are combining all efforts for all peoples, and we want to make sure that we here in New Mexico really have a voice. This morning I said we need wake-up calls. Yes. We can't feel comfortable being in the belly of the beast. We have to unite and wake up and find out what is happening to us, especially here we're at the Capitol, with our seeds as one. Seeds in New Mexico are very precious. This is our lifeblood, and yet there's